Sup y'all, welcome to the spoiler discussion for Man of Steel. If you didn't see my spoiler-free review of Man of Steel, I'll give my quick consensus right now. I thought it was a good movie, but it didn't live up to the hype and the potential of the trailers, because those were some really impactful trailers. It was a good movie with great action and decent character arcs, just the screenplay was a little lacking and the emotional depth could have been a little more, let's say, enhanced. Overall, though, I thought it was a really good Superman movie. And now, before we get into the good stuff, I just want to say that I'm going to be talking about things that stood out to me personally. And if I don't mention something that you thought was interesting in the movie, let me know in the comment box down below. That's why we have a comment box, so we could discuss these things down there. And I assume you have seen the movie if you're watching this. If not, please get out of here so you don't get mad. Let's talk about the non-linear story and the way that it was told. This movie was told through flashbacks. It begins on Krypton, and we see Russell Crowe as Jor-El kicking ass and kicking Zod's ass. We see the destruction of Krypton, and we go directly to Clark Kent in a fisherman's outfit playing on the Discovery Channel. And it seems like he's trying to find himself. The whole movie is basically about him trying to find an identity for himself because he doesn't quite know who he is and what he's supposed to be. Although I would have preferred a chronological storytelling perspective, I did like the flashback and the non-linear perspective, and I think the best aspect of the Smallville flashbacks was Jonathan Kent, played by the great, of course, Kevin Costner. He really brought this earnest honesty to the role, and whenever he had lines, he didn't have that much. His role was very small, though in the big picture he plays a big role, but whenever he has a line to say, he really brings his all. He was basically the voice of reason for Clark Kent. Having said in my review that there was a lack of emotional depth, I did still think that there were really good emotional moments in this movie, and the moment when Jonathan Kent dies, it was emotional. I mean, seeing him standing there and telling Clark, no, don't save me, this has to happen for the sake of discreetly keeping your secret. Other than that, I don't have much to say about the process of the structure of the story or the story itself. I do want to talk about a few things, though, regarding the final climatic sequence and a couple characters. For one, General Zod, who I thought could have been played by quite a few actors. Michael Shannon didn't fully embrace the role. He did do a great job, though. He was menacing, and I mean, you saw his side because he was also sympathetic, because he was doing the right for his people, because on Krypton, they established that the conception process is artificial, and you're basically born with the predetermined notion that you will become somebody, like the leader of an army, or a priest, or a job at McDonald's. It's basically up to Krypton itself, not you. And of course, Kal-El, Superman, was the first natural birth in centuries for Krypton, and that gave him the choice of becoming what he wanted to be, and that was what this whole movie was about. But General Zod was doing what he was doing just for the sake of his people, and I dug that. And there are points in this movie where they're just having conversations, Zod and Kal-El, and you could seem like, well, if they stood on the same side of the argument, then they wouldn't be enemies. One side character that I strongly remembered leaving the theater last night was that Faora character. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm not sure who it was played by, but she was evil, she was sexy, and she was very formidable. You saw her showcasing her abilities, going back and forth, kicking the army's ass, and she has this one line that people will definitely remember coming out of this movie is, "A good death has its own reward." She was just as imposing, if not more so, than General Zod. And finally, the climatic battle of Man of Steel, the fight for Metropolis and Earth. That climax was insane. Maybe a little repetitive on the action side, but my breath was held within my throat for the whole thing. And it was intense. I mean, it was really CG oriented. It was still a lot of fun, though, and you really felt the power between these two impeccable forces, Superman and General Zod, just fighting each other, and they had ripple effects, and buildings were coming down. Millions and millions of people had to die in this fight. There were moments during this fight that reminded me of 9/11, and it really hits home because you saw white ashes falling from the sky, you saw Lawrence Fishburne and all these other actors who were in the middle of the peril just freaking out with bulging eyes. It's just like, holy crap, this shit is real. A good portion of Metropolis is just basically decimated and destroyed. And moving forward with a sequel, I have no idea what they're going to do. I think they're going to probably incorporate the destruction into the story, maybe with Lex Luthor with his technology to rebuild. So to get back on track with the actual fight, Superman destroys the only beacon of hope for Krypton, and that destroys General Zod's purpose as a general leader. So that's when he just breaks all the barges and just becomes this insane psycho freak who will stop at nothing to just destroy everything in his path. And at the very end of the movie, they're in a station, a subway station of sorts, and Superman has Zod in a chokehold, but he starts using his lasers, Zod, and there's a family trapped in the corner, and he's about to kill his family with the laser eyes, and Superman has this moral decision to make. As we all know, Superman is a very morally right person, and he would not kill. But I don't think I don't know if I don't follow the comics, but I don't think he has a rule like Batman where he does not kill at all. I think Superman, if it's necessary, will kill as a last resort, and inevitably, Zod will not stop in his reign. So Superman has no choice but to snap Zod's neck. And I was pretty surprised by that moment because it was pretty dark and it was brutal for a Superman movie. And Zod's dead now. And Lois Lane comes in the picture and you see Superman, he's just standing there, he gets on his knees and he just goes, "Ah!" And that, in my opinion, was one of the best scenes in the whole movie. And I think moving forward with a sequel, I think this actually might haunt him. Because Zod was trying to keep the fate of the Kryptonian race alive. And Superman made the choice to let that cease. And then after that, we get that final sequence that builds up to the crescendo with that amazing Hans Zimmer score of Clark Kent getting the job at the Daily Planet. And he's not clumsy, he's not like we've seen him in previous movies, but it's basically setting up that he's getting this job, and he has that awesome, handsome smile, no homo, and it's like, you know what? That's Superman. But you know what? The movie's over now. Ha 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 ha! Seeing Clark Kent finally fulfill that occupation that people love him for in the comics at the Daily Planet was really awesome. And just when the heat turns up, the movie ends. And now to introduce sequel talk. What we need in a sequel is Lex Luthor, but I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, General Zod throws a propane truck at Superman that says LexCorp on it. And it's in big, bold, yellow. Wait, it wasn't yellow, it was white. But I don't think that makes a difference. Lettering. Despite the monumental destruction, Kal-El is now a beacon of hope and a symbol of goodness for Earth. And from there, I think something eternally conflicting could happen with Superman because now he has the pressure of being this symbol and maintaining that symbolism as long as he's on Earth. And if he makes a mistake or a few mistakes, just much like Spider-Man, everybody turns against him. That, in my opinion, is where Lex Luthor can come into the picture and basically destroy Superman mentally. Let me know in the comments down below. What did you think of Man of Steel? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What was your favorite character? What basically made you go, that was great, or that was shit? I'm John Maffio, aka MaffmanJones, and I really wish that female Kryptonian didn't perish. Her death was neither good nor rewarding. See you next time.